Benjamin. I brought something to show you. I have here one of the most popular handguns made in America. It is not used for target practice, nor is it useful for hunting small animals. Its accuracy really can't be guaranteed over long distances. In fact, it really is only useful for one reason. The reason it gets bought, stolen, and smuggled. It kills people. You are probably wondering why I am here, Mr. Poindexter. I promise that will become apparent, or maybe you've already guessed. The simple answer is, I'm here to play a game with you. It's called Roulette, but it is not the kind you find in a casino. Traditionally, this game is played with one gun, one bullet, and two idiots. That's us. The two idiots then take turns pointing the gun at their own heads and pulling the trigger. The lucky idiot gets to live. I've already started, so I have to ask, do you feel lucky? I'm sure you don't mind me doing the honors for you like that. Of course, you couldn't really do it for yourself anyway, not with you being perfectly paralyzed. Why, you can't even speak. But you did much worse to me, didn't you, Mr. Poindexter? Or don't you remember? A few months ago, before your accident, you killed my fiancée. You killed Electra. Maybe that's why I want to play this game with you. Even though you can't make a move or speak, I can still see the gears in your little brain working, trying to figure out who I am. I know you don't recognize me right now. I'm usually wearing a different suit of clothes. We have met before, you and I, under different circumstances. Let me explain. But first, how about another round? That's 4 out of 6, Poindexter. We're both lucky idiots so far. I know I don't much look like it right now, but I am a lawyer, Mr. Poindexter. The good kind that tries to help people. That is probably hard for you to consider given what's happened here in the last few minutes. Let me tell you a little story about one of my clients, a man named Jurgens and his son. Let me tell you about Chucky. Chucky was a very special kid, very smart, but he lived in a fantasy world almost nonstop. A world of good and evil, black and white. He loved superheroes, and his favorite was Daredevil. You know who Daredevil is, right? Of course you do. He's the one who put you in this bed. Chucky also adored his father very much, but turns out Jurgens was not a very good man. One day, not long ago, Chucky saw something that blew his fragile mind. He discovered his father was as bad as the night is dark, and he saw Daredevil bring him to justice. In his fantasy world, there were only two options, and what he saw just did not fit neatly into either category. Chucky snapped. Daredevil couldn't have made a mistake, could he? Was he right? Who was good? Who was bad? What did that make Chucky? It was more than he could bear. One day, not long after this, Chucky went to school. He'd always been bullied a bit, but that day was especially cruel as the kids teased him about his father. He reached into his bag and pulled out a gun, just like his father's, just like this one. Which raises the question, Poindexter, when Chucky pulled the trigger, was he his father or Daredevil, or was he you? The boy that Chucky shot that day survived, by the way, though I'm not sure a man like you would care. So I keep asking myself, what made Chucky this way? What made you this way? Perhaps if you, had a father like mine. If not for him, I wouldn't be who I am today. Have you guessed it yet? Don't worry, we'll get to that. The way I see it, in order to become a man, a boy needs to be inspired, and battling Jack Murdoch was one for the ages. As a boxer, my father was second-rate at best, but he was the best father a boy could have wanted, always pushing me to excel at school and guiding me through life's messier lessons. He was a man of integrity, but he lost his after my mother died. He did what he did to keep a roof over our heads and keep me fed. But when the time came, Jack Murdoch was ready. All the odds were against him that night in Madison Square Garden. He hardly stood a chance against the much younger, much better fighter. The gangsters he had fallen in with, the ones who had built him up with fixed fights, got him to the title match, built his reputation. Well, they ordered him to take a dive that night. It would have been very easy to just follow that order, to take the dive, take the money. But this was the title match, and maybe he saw me out in the crowd and thought about what the prize money meant for my future. Whatever the consequences, he knew I'd be okay. So he reached down and found a way to win the greatest boxing match of his career, the greatest and his last. He showed me what a man was, Poindexter, what true sacrifice is. He is the reason I became who I am. I am a liar. My father was far from the best. Oh, he tried hard, but he was far from the best. There is another story, one I've never told anyone. When I was a boy, my father made me promise something. He never wanted me to be like him. He promised me to never fight. He wanted a better life for me. He knew he couldn't give it to me, but he felt like putting me on a different path might take me to a different destination. If he only knew. I failed in my promise. Just once. But that was enough. I was about Chucky's age when it happened. I was walking home from school, a load of books under my arm, when the bullies surprised me. They took my books, called me names. My father had spent good, hard-earned money on those books. When the boys began to tear pages out, well, I lost my temper. And it felt great. When I got home, Dad was drunk. He saw the blood on my face, the bruises, and he knew I'd broken my promise to him. I tried to explain. I thought he'd be proud of me for sticking up for myself, protecting the books he'd worked so hard for. But my father knew only one way to express himself that night in his besotted state. He lashed out with his fists. I spent the night perched on the Brooklyn Bridge just thinking about right and wrong, how even my father could do bad things, how even he needed to obey the law. As the blood caked and dried on my face and clothes, as the tears leaked down my cheeks, I knew what I had to become. I vowed that night to become an attorney. I vowed to fight for what is right, because right matters. So have you guessed yet? How you know me? Let me give you a hint. One of the nicknames those bullies had for me. A name they spewed with derision and sarcasm. A name they thought was funny because I never took risks. That name was Daredevil. Bullseye! I knew you'd guessed it. So, what am I giving people by running around in tights at night to punch crooks? Am I showing people that crime does not pay? Or am I showing them that any idiot with fists can get what they want if they're strong enough and mean enough? Am I fighting violence or teaching it? Or maybe the blame rests with idiots like you and Juergens. Speaking of idiots, I almost forgot. It's my turn. That's 5. Looks like I might be the lucky one after all. And it all comes down to this, Bullseye. Are you ready? When I fight you and beat you and know deep in my heart that I am right in what I do, when I hate you and your kind so fiercely it makes me cry, when I see you are nothing but a blackened, hollow, evil man who has no right to live, when, at last, I have you set squarely in my sights and I smell your fear, when it comes to that one final, fatal act of ending you. My gun has no bullets.